This is Under Review, the show that talks about Colorado sports with a sprinkling of national sports stories as well. I'm Jordan Long. The NFL regular season starts on Thursday when the LA Rams start their title defense by hosting the Buffalo Bills. With that, it's time for my NFL predictions. I am going to go through all the divisions and tell you my division winners. We will begin in the NFC with the Nfc East. Two teams will battle it out for the division crown, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. My question for Philadelphia, though, is how much will quarterback Jalen Hurts play improve from last year? Now, Hurts tossed for 3,144 yards, 16 touchdowns, and he was careful with the ball last year with only 9 interceptions. That's pretty good numbers to have 3,144 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. If that play keeps up and those numbers are even better for Jalen Hurts, this team could end up winning the division. Dallas is probably the more complete team. They have one of the better quarterbacks in the league in Dak Prescott. Dallas must be able to run the football with Ezekiel Elliott to open up the passing game for Dak Prescott. Defensively, though, the Eagles' defense is better. I like them to stop opponents more. Dallas will be in the mix, but for them, though, they have to do a better job with penalties. Don't do dumb penalties. The Dallas Cowboys were the number 1 team in penalties last year. Decrease that number. Don't be in the top 10 or the top 5. That has to improve. If you want to do something, do not get penalized as much. Now, the competition is close in this division. Both teams are great, and whoever doesn't win the Nfc East will be one of the wildcard teams. I am going with the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like they're going to be the better team, edging out Dallas for the division crown. The Nfc North won't be competitive because the Packers are the most complete team. It starts with quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who will find all of his receivers. Having a Hall of Fame quarterback like Aaron Rodgers gives Green Bay the edge in this division. Of course, if Rodgers gets hurt, that leaves Jordan Love, and I don't trust him. So if Rodgers goes down, that derails their season. Their defense is pretty solid for Green Bay. It makes them the favorite to win the division, and I don't see Detroit, Minnesota, or Chicago giving a chase to them. Green Bay takes the division for the 4th year in a row. The NFC South, Tampa Bay is the pick. I know their quarterback Tom Brady is 45 years old, but look at his weapons. Brady will look for Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones at wide receiver. Sure, he lost tight end Rob Gronkowski as a large target on offense, because Gronkowski retired from the NFL game. So what did Tampa Bay do? Well, he got another weapon for Tom Brady and Kyle Rudolph. That helped at the tight end position. In the running game, Leonard Fournette will get the job done as long as that offensive line blocks for him, creating holes for him to run through. Running the ball is key because it can't be all on Tom Brady's arm. Defensively, Tampa Bay is still pretty good. They can stop the run and the pass. For them, though, that defense needs to cause turnovers to give Tom Brady and that offense the ball back to score points. If you look at the other teams in the division, maybe Carolina is the only team that could compete. They have a new quarterback in Baker Mayfield, but for Carolina to be successful, Baker Mayfield has to play mistake-free football, and I just don't see it. I think the Buccaneers are the better team than the Panthers. Tampa Bay is a veteran team over the Panthers. Even with a 45-year-old quarterback in Tom Brady, Tampa Bay wins the division. Afc West, we know the defending Super Bowl champions LA Rams are in the division. I think they will repeat as division champs. Why? Well, they have a quarterback, Matthew Stafford, who will find Cooper Kupp and Allen Robertson. Those two are big targets for Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Allen Robertson. Defensively, though, That gives them the edge over the Seahawks, Cardinals, and 49ers. The Rams have one of the best defensive linemen in the game, Aaron Donald, who can change a game with a tackle on a running back or a sack on the quarterback. Arizona might compete because of their quarterback, Kyler Murray. The Seattle Seahawks have a new starter in Geno Smith, who beat Drew Lock in the quarterback competition that really wasn't a quarterback competition. Who knows how well Smith will play this year. The 49ers are also going with a new starter from last year, Trey Lance. Of course, their starter from last year, Jimmy Garoppolo, will be the backup to Trey Lance. Now, it is possible if Trey Lance and the Niners struggle at any point on offense this year, Jimmy Garoppolo will be back on the field as the starting quarterback for the 49ers. The experience is hard to beat with LA, and the Rams win the division. Moving on to the AFC with the AFC East. There's only one team who's going to be the best in this division, Buffalo. It's basically Super Bowl or bust for the Buffalo Bills. They have to win the Super Bowl or at least get there, or it's a busted season for them. They could be the most complete teams in the NFL. The offense for the Buffalo Bills might be the best in the league. Josh Allen, their quarterback, has become one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He protects the football and finds his open receivers. Allen will not throw the football into double coverage for it to be picked off. As for the defense, it's one of the best in the NFL, and it's hard for an offense to gain yards, let alone score on them. They stop the run and the pass. That is the Bills' defense. Even when teams go down the field, it's difficult to score on this Bills' defense. The fact of the matter is, the Bills have a great offense and defense, and they will win the division easily. NFC North, the Browns and the Steelers have new quarterbacks. That takes them out of the running. Baltimore has Lamar Jackson, who's one of the top quarterbacks running the football, but Jackson still needs to pass the football to be successful. The NFL is a passing league. Finding his open receivers is key. The Ravens defense is still good. I have to go with Cincinnati to win this division. They didn't have to do much to improve on their offense. Of course, they improved that offensive line to protect quarterback Joe Burrow, but quarterback Joe Burrow will look for T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd at the wide receiver position, and those three are one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. Joe Mixon, their running back, can run the football to take pressure off of Joe Burrow. The defense has to be as good as it was in last year's playoff run. If they are, they win the division. If not, that gives Baltimore a chance to win it. I'm going with a better team, and that's Cincinnati. The AFC South. The Tennessee Titans should be in the mix to win the division. They have the quarterback play in Ryan Tannehill. The thing, though, about Ryan Tannehill is stay away from the big turnovers. And that's the key for him, is to stay away from throwing interceptions. They have a running back who is probably the top in the NFL in Derrick Henry. Let him run the football to take the pressure off of Ryan Tannehill and his arm. That is the key for the Tennessee Titans. Run the football. The only team I can see who can knock them off is the Indianapolis Colts, but they have a new quarterback in Matt Ryan, and I'm not sure if he has enough in his first year in Indy to win the division, so that is why I'm going with the Tennessee Titans. The AFC West might be the most competitive division in the NFL. Every single team has a franchise quarterback. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes. LA Chargers, Justin Herbert. Las Vegas Raiders, Derek Carr. Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson. And if you look at it, those are all franchise quarterbacks. Kansas City has been the number one team in this division because of quarterback Patrick Mahomes. The Chargers are in the mix because of quarterback Justin Herbert. Denver probably has the best defense in the division and probably in the NFL. In Vegas, though, they have a quarterback, Derek Carr, who has a new wide receiver to throw the football to in Devontae Adams. The truth is, Kansas City still owns this division and they are the team to beat. After that, Denver has a chance to win it if Russell Wilson looks like the quarterback who led the Seattle Seahawks to back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. The Chargers, they are a good team, but my problem with them is, can they win the close games? Close games out. Prove you can win those close games, and then maybe you win the division. The Raiders are the only team I don't see winning the division. I think Kansas City wins the division since they have owned it since 2016. They win it yet again as Denver and LA actually get wildcard spots. So my division winners again: NFC East, Philadelphia; NFC North, Green Bay; NFC South, Tampa Bay; NFC West, the LA Rams; in the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills; AFC North, Cincinnati; AFC South, the Tennessee Titans; and the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs. Once the season is over, we may look back and see how well I did and which divisions I got right. But for now, those are my predictions. We're going to finish up and move on to the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos made cuts for their final 53-man roster. Now, every team had to be down to 53 men by 2 p.m. Mountain Time on Tuesday for their roster. I talked about the last few weeks about the punter and backup quarterback competitions. Well, those have now been decided. With the punting competition, the winner is Corliss Waitman. He took on Sam Martin. Now, I was not impressed with Waitman. During the preseason, Waitman had 6 punts during the preseason, and his average yards per punt was 43.3 yards. And his net average yards was 40 yards. My issue with him is he couldn't punt the ball inside the 20 or inside the 10. You really have to do that because that flips field position. If you can punt the ball inside the 20 or even inside the 10, that forces the opponent's offense to have a long field to actually work with. The best case is that offense goes 3 and out, and after a punt, you get the ball for your offense near the 50-yard line or a short field to score points. He didn't do that as effectively as Sam Martin. Waitman had 2 punts down inside the 20, while 1 went into the end zone. Sam Martin was clearly the better punter. This was his 3rd training camp with the Denver Broncos, and in his previous 2 years, Martin had 132 regular season punts in Denver. His average yards per punt during that time was 46.3 yards. 47 of his punts were down inside the 20. I thought, why are we having a punting competition? For Sam Martin, 7 kicks went into the end zone, which is an impressively low amount. This gave Martin the edge. When it came to the preseason, Martin was the punter, and he actually showed that he had a better leg with an average yards per punt of 49 yards when 1 punt was down inside the 20. He had the bigger leg, I should say, but the difference between him and Waitman was Waitman's net yards was better. Martin's average net yards was 36.2 yards. I was very surprised that the Broncos went with Waitman. I thought Martin was the better punter, and actually he landed in Buffalo. So it's not like he didn't have a job. He's in Buffalo right now. In the end, though, the Broncos thought Waitman did enough to earn the job. Now, what I heard was that Martin, and this was a rumor, he wasn't going to take a pay cut from his $2.25 million salary. He basically refused a pay cut. Now, the Broncos are saying that didn't happen, and it was just a rumor. So I really don't know what happened there. But once the Broncos cut Sam Martin, he went to Buffalo. No matter what the issue was, Denver thought Waitman was better. Now, Waitman is the punter going forward. For the Broncos, though, they hope he can boom punts inside the 20. It is a risk since he didn't do that very much in the preseason. As for the Broncos, the worst case scenario with Waitman is he struggles during the season and can't have those punts inside the 20 or down inside the 20 or the 10-yard line, and his punts are going in the end zone, or let's just say they go to the 25-yard line. If that happens, Denver may decide to bring in another punter for competition. It happens in the NFL. For right now, though, Denver is going with Waitman as the punter. Another main training camp battle was the quarterback backup. So it's the quarterback backup competition to Russell Wilson, or the backup quarterback competition. It was between Josh Johnson and Brett Ripon. Johnson and Ripon played in all 3 preseason games. Johnson completed 35 of 53 passes in the preseason, or 66% of his passes. You like to see that. You want to have a quarterback who complete 60% of his passes. Johnson also passed for 349 yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnson, though, had a difficult time finding his open receivers. He often either threw them too short or led his receiver too far. The only good part about Johnson's play, though, was the fact he didn't force the ball into double coverage or where a defensive back could get an interception. He didn't throw an interception. Johnson was also not sacked, even though that he was blitzed a lot. But the fact of the matter is he wasn't sacked. Now, what those stats don't show is how much he was blitzed. And basically, the offensive line did not hold their blocks. But for Johnson, he wasn't really impressive. Brett Ripon, on the other hand, completed 44 of 65 passes. So he was 44 of 65, or completing 67.7%. You're looking at it, 67.7% is better than 66%. But that's only a 1.1% more of his passes completed, or really, if you look at it, it's 1.7 of his passes completed compared to Johnson. Ripon also passed for 441 yards, or 92 yards more than Johnson. You know, that is a thing about this, is that Ripon looked better, and what I liked about him was he found his open receivers more, and he was able to move the chains. He only threw 1 touchdown, which is only 1 less than Johnson, but Ripon also had 1 interception, and he really would like that back because it happened last week against Minnesota. It was a throw Ripon probably shouldn't have thrown. It was in the end zone, and he was trying to fit the ball into his receiver. Unfortunately for Ripon, the ball was tipped away from the receiver, and the defensive back did a great job of tipping the ball, and it was picked off in the end zone. It's one of those passes he would like to have back. He should have looked for another receiver who might have been open. If not, throw it away and live for another down. It's a learning experience. You never want to see interceptions in the end zone, because that takes points off the scoreboard for your offense. Ripon was only sacked 1 time. Ripon looked like the better quarterback, and he was able to move the chains and help the Broncos move the ball downfield. I know he only had 1 touchdown compared to Johnson's 2, but Ripon was able to move the chains more for the Broncos than Johnson did in the preseason. Now, the main difference and why in the end the Broncos decided to go with Brett Ripon is because he made better decisions and found his receivers and open receivers better than Johnson. Johnson, though, is still with the Denver Broncos. I'll get there in a moment. The Broncos' backup quarterback is Brett Ripon because he looked like the better quarterback. Ripon deserved to be a chance, and he deserves the chance to be the backup to Russell Wilson. Johnson was cut from the Broncos' main roster, and that actually left Ripon as the only quarterback besides Russell Wilson on the active roster. Now, it's pretty scary to have 2 quarterbacks, because if one goes down, then you only have 1 left. Denver, though, fixed that problem. Remember, there is the practice squad where Denver can place up to 16 players, and Johnson is one of those players. Johnson can practice with the team, but will not be allowed to suit up for game day unless he's called up to the 53-man roster. So unless he's activated on a 53-man, he will practice but not suit up. At least Denver still has 3 quarterbacks, even if Johnson is on the practice squad. Now, one player I was surprised that Denver let go and actually traded to Pittsburgh was Malik Reed. Now, Reed wasn't cut, but traded to Pittsburgh. Reed spent the last 3 years with the Denver Broncos. I thought he played well in those 3 years, totaling 123 tackles and 15 sacks. Now, he was a key part of the Broncos blitz from the linebacker position with 30 quarterback hits. What more do you want? I never thought Reed would be gone. I also thought that the one position the Broncos needed depth was linebacker. In other words, keep as many linebackers as possible. That is in case one goes down. While Denver, for some odd reason, decided to trade, they traded Malik Reed. I don't understand why, but the Broncos must feel they have enough depth at the linebacker position. They dealt Reed to Pittsburgh, and the Steelers gave the Broncos a 6th-round draft pick. At least you got something back. I know it's a late-round draft pick, but it's another player for the Broncos to select in next year's draft. The downside, though, is you have to wait another year. That player is in college right now and will not make an impact on Denver's team this year. Now, the Broncos are now preparing to take on the Seattle Seahawks, which will be the first Monday night football game of the season. It's very interesting, and I'm glad that this game comes early because it's Russell Wilson's return to Seattle. I just wonder what kind of ovation he will get. I don't think he will get booed because the people in Seattle loved him. Yes, he forced his way out by getting traded to the Denver Broncos. But the fact of the matter is, Seattle, he was loved there. He might get a standing ovation, but that will only last until the first snap of the offense for the Denver Broncos, because then that crowd will get into it. As for Russell Wilson, he's used to hearing the crowd, but that's on the sidelines. I just hope that he plays well. And the fact of the matter is you never know what's going to happen in these games that you return. I remember when Peyton Manning went to Indianapolis for the first time, and that was way back in when he was with the Denver Broncos prior to 2016, because he retired after they won the Super Bowl 50. And he was just, I wouldn't say surprised, but he just didn't play well because he went back home, and I just don't think he played very well. So I'm hoping that Russell Wilson actually plays better when he goes home, but he knows how that crowd can be for the defense. That is Seattle's defense when they are on the field. They're going to make a ton of noise. So hopefully Russell Wilson is prepared for that. Kickoff for that game, though, is at 6:15 Mountain Time and on September 13th. So that's the first Monday Night Football game of the season at 6:15 Mountain Time on September 12th. I'm Jordan Long. This has been Under Review. Read my blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. Check out all the shows we have on the Sideline Sports Network and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of them. We have shows every single day of the week. This has been a Sideline Sports production.